Hi everyone! You might have heard that Bitcoin is completely irrelevant and useless now because everyone's seen it plummet the past weeks and it looks bad. Well, personally, I'm not sure I share that perspective. You're gonna want to stick around, get close, and eventually get off if you manage to watch this entire video. But until then, I'm gonna tease you with confidence and inform you that you do want to subscribe through my mailing list instead of trusting YouTube notifications. This newsletter is absolutely juicy and delicious. I recently did a poll asking my audience if they know about my second channel, which I've been advertising for a year now, and they don't. So that's the deal with shadow ban. Views are kinda hit and miss nowadays, for obvious algorithmical Susan reasons, so just follow me through Substack, and you'll never have to miss a single video. Let's start with this headline. Bitcoin has been declared dead 402 times since its inception. Here's how you can track the number of times it has so-called died in the mainstream media. At the same time, a different article reads, a number of major US media outlets have financial ties to the Chinese Communist Party, and it shows in their coverage. The New York Times, The Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, and Bloomberg all have business relations with China. Yeah, I think I'm seeing a pattern here. Am I way too drunk or is this a pattern? You're gonna have to leave a comment and help me out here, because I can't decide. The Bitcoin investment thesis is rather simple. If you think that central banks will continue to print and devalue their currencies, then look at Bitcoin. Or any other crypto you think looks interesting. There's no need to overcomplicate things, really. Research according to what you find appealing. Nowadays people are talking about Ethereum, Monero, Ripple, and Polkadot as well, because different crypto technologies do different things and integrate differently with other technology. On this note, 20% of American dollars were printed in 2020 alone. We are seeing central banks manufacture inflation simply to deal with economic crisis / built-in deficiencies. And at the same time, Wall Street is lobbying the US government to become more crypto-friendly. Now, isn't it strange how the main people that deal with money are suddenly showing faith in blockchain technology and its various currencies? We all know Wall Street cares mainly about profits, so what does this tell you? Microsoft, Dell, the NBA, Virgin Galactic, etc. are all moving towards accepting cryptocurrencies as payment and working it into their infrastructure. Add to this the fact that on a global scale, more people have access to the internet than they have access to banks or other currency systems. This is especially the case in developing countries such as Africa, where hundreds of millions of people will gain internet access for the first time in the coming decades. Given that the supply of Bitcoin is fixed, it's not weird to expect a massive increase in demand as third world nations develop. The Federal Reserve has printed more than $2 trillion since the global economic COVID crisis began. And when the Fed prints money, it makes the price of assets like gold, silver, and Bitcoin go up. Elites don't like gold because central banks cannot print gold, so that's why the bank guys themselves typically invest in gold. They know how rotten the system is from the inside. But if this is the case, then why did it plummet in value the past 2 weeks? Well, the main reasons I've seen talked about are A. Elon Musk, B. China, and C. China again, just to emphasize that communist microdick. Now, Elon Musk moved away from Bitcoin due to some plant vagina logic about climate change, and now we see Ethereum set out to slash carbon emissions with their new project. This is probably going to make it more popular and normie-friendly, given the climate change movement / mainstream media narrative, especially when Ethereum starts integrating with video games and various apps, which it's very molded for. Apparently, a lot of big corporations are betting on cryptography now, and they've realized that crypto is the future. PayPal just started accepting Bitcoin, for example, and a few years ago, Fairfax County in Virginia took the groundbreaking step of investing millions of its pension funds into cryptocurrencies, something that paid off quite nicely for them. As for China, they have a strong ideological motive to want to destroy Bitcoin, due to their communism, which also ties into a hatred for the American economy.
我问他给我5块钱，结果呢，他就给我5美元。我问他你们有人民币吗？他说只有1块钱，所以他不好意思给我。我说你给我吧，我想要这个，因为我觉得 中国1块钱还比5美元好用。这个是啥子玩意啊？我才喜欢这个，我是放在我的口袋里面了。那这个呢？我不要，我不要。
This is exactly the kind of government that cryptocurrencies are a threat against. So China banned Bitcoin and then tried making their own. Difference being, this isn't cryptid, it's centralized and digital with zero anonymity, just the way they like it. Speaking of micro-dick, Erdogan just banned Bitcoin in Turkey. Are you noticing a pattern yet? Big government equals small PP. Memorize that, students. Although it's difficult to quantify demand for Bitcoin in informal markets across the Middle East, small-scale traders from Lebanon to Yemen say that interest in Bitcoin as a safe haven asset, not a speculative asset, is stronger than ever. Ben Freeman, a former Goldman Sachs oil trader and CEO of Creo Commodities, said that cryptocurrency's value in the region relies on being decentralized and censorship-resistant. Quote, if institutions break down and Bitcoin is independent to any institution or government oversight, then we'll start to see more flight to Bitcoin as an asset class. End of quote. If you look at countries where crypto is banned or restricted, there's a pretty clear pattern of hating freedom. If you know what I mean. Cough, Islam, communism, cough! Do note that none of this eradicates Bitcoin and other crypto trading and their usage. Governments can crack down as much as they want, but due to the nature of decentralization, it's simply impossible to ban crypto. Not only that, it's actually bad for the economy and stifles innovation as well, leading to less capital and less tax revenue. This is why numerous Western countries are now moving towards more crypto-friendly attitudes and regulating it as income. Another interesting thing is that the Bitcoin crash was predicted by a 4chan user 12 hours before the markets dumped. Meaning, this insider predicted the sell-off. According to him, the purpose of all of this was to attack a single shareholder, and details point towards that being Elon Musk. After the attack, when prices have been dumped, it would become easier to leave this shareholder bankrupted. So why would they target Elon Musk? Well, if you know anything about small dick authoritarian egos, you would know that China also wants to colonize space, just so they can rub it in America's face. Even though their space rockets hold the quality level of a meteor. Speaking of which, ever see a socialist engineered bridge?
These people couldn't drive over this bridge in China because the winds became too dangerous.
If this insider is correct, I suspect that the underlying point there was to throw a cog into the Elon Musk space race war machinery. And the way I understand it, when China starts cracking down on their own crypto miners, as they've done lately, it makes the price of Bitcoin go down, as a large portion of them are located there in China. But correct me if I'm wrong, dear chaps, doesn't this just mean that American nerds need to pick up the slack and start patriot mining? Wouldn't that increase the value of it long term? I'm not a nerd here, I'm just trying to be, so I don't know exactly. Feel free to correct me in the comment section. But what I do know is that a few months ago, CNBC reported that the United States Social Security program is going to run out of money by 2035. You can expect less pensions than you were promised, and you see the same in Sweden. This country's wealth is largely artificial and made up of loans. Swedes have some of the highest private debt in the entire world. Just housing debt alone now amasses to 3,658 billion SEK. That's a new record, by the way. Both in America and Sweden, people expecting to have a solid pension will become very disappointed in just a few decades. To make things even more worrying, only 39% of Americans have enough savings to cover a $1,000 emergency. 53% of working baby boomers who aren't currently saving for retirement have no plans to save either. Just 9% of middle-income workers save 50% of more of their income for retirement. Nearly half of Americans aren't saving for retirement, and those who save aren't saving enough. So half of working households will experience a decrease in their living standard during their retirement. Is that what you've been working for your entire life? This all ties into why cryptocurrencies are getting more and more popular. It's an investment for skeptics of the monetary system, as well as people wanting to make sure they can still have a decent life long term by making diversified investments. Not just gold and real estate, but a pinch of crypto is now being advised as well. US debt is currently at its highest level since World War II. So how does this all tie together? Well, let me quote the father of capitalism, Adam Smith. For in every country of the world, I believe, the avarice and injustice of princes and sovereign states, abusing the confidence of their subjects, have by degrees diminished the real quantity of metal which had been originally contained in their coins. The Roman, as in the latter ages of the Republic, was reduced to the 24th part of its original value, and instead of weighing a pound, came to weigh only half an ounce. The English pound and penny contain at present about a third only, the Scots pound and penny about a 36th, and the French pound and penny about a 66th part of their original value. By means of those operations, the princes and sovereign states which performed them were enabled in appearance to pay their debts and fulfill their engagements with a smaller quantity of silver than would otherwise have been requisite. It was indeed in appearance only, for their creditors were really defrauded of a part of what was due to them. All other debtors in the state were allowed the same privilege and might pay with the same nominal sum of the new and debased coin whatever they had borrowed in the old. Such operations, therefore, have always proved favorable to the debtor and ruinous to the creditor, and have sometimes produced a greater and more universal revolution in the fortunes of private persons than could have been occasioned by a very great public calamity. End of quote. When you observe how the Federal Reserve has been devaluing the dollar ever since its inception, you can kind of see that the historical pattern never went away. In Myanmar, you've already seen this sort of disaster take place. Cash shortage threatens a banking crisis. Since most money is actually just numbers printed into a computer, most money is digital numbers, not actual bills, most money is loans and debt, meaning that printing too much eventually leads to this. The Myanmar junta has severely restricted cash withdrawals and is targeting savers, leading to huge queues, a 10% premium on banknotes, record prices for dollars and gold going up in value, and Bitcoin liquidity drying up on peer-to-peer exchanges, because you can't convert anything to cash when there's no cash. But there is also a larger global context to take into consideration here. We've seen how censorship and free speech is being strangled all over the world, increasingly so in the West. This means there's now an actual incentive for this technology to be made usable on a larger scale. Crypto and blockchain will one day be what saves us from totalitarian governments. We've seen how people are losing their bank accounts because of politics now. Big tech are shutting down free speech. This is only making alternative technology more and more popular, more and more talked about, more and more relevant. The more people use crypto, the more it's worth. People haven't even begun using it, but we're seeing even its biggest haters suddenly change their mind on it, and more businesses are integrating it as a result because the market is speaking. When they say that crypto doesn't reflect any real value, keep in mind that censorship is the contrast which makes out its value. Its value is actually dependent on how governments act. And when you look at the overall Bitcoin life cycle, one pattern to observe is that Bitcoin crashes are part of its life cycle. According to one analyzer, Bitcoin rallies at least 3,000% after each of its halving dates. Dropping and climbing is part of the process.
Why do we falls? So that we can learn to pick ourselves up.
You still haven't given up on me.
Never.
So when it comes to China, all I have to say is, come on, man. That's not very nice. And that's the closing statement of this video. Make sure you follow me on Odyssey, Gab, and Parler, so you'll never have to miss a single video. YouTube sure won't notify you if something happens to this channel, so let's just stick close together. Okay, guys?